Welcome everyone to this little sample lecture. My name is Alexander Himme, and we would like to give you a little flavor how it looks like to be in the classroom here at KLU. Yeah, and you see the title, Coca-Cola, Apple and Co. What makes brands so valuable? And before I dive into this, just a little introduction from my side, because I think I'm one representative of the whole faculty, and you have already heard this a little bit with Christian Barrault, our president. That we are very international, and I think that's why it's maybe also good to know what is maybe a typical vita of a professor here at KLU. Right? So my academic career started 100 kilometers north of Hamburg in Kiel. Yeah, I did my business administration studies there. I also did my PhD there. And then what is also typical for faculty that you then very often work abroad or live abroad. But I did it closely. It was almost abroad. So I after my PhD I went to Passau. Yeah, it's at least if you are from Kiel, it feels a little bit like a foreign country, right? So deep Bavaria. There I started my postdoc career, and then after that, after 3 years being there, I was maybe even for someone from northern part of Germany, some strange things going on like Carnival. So I spent 3 years at University of Cologne as a postdoc. Yeah. So this is still national, but what is also, I think, very typical, I mean, many of our faculty members are international, but also let's say the Germans, what we typically have in our vita is that we then spend some time abroad. So in my case, I was then 1.5 years in the US at Stanford, at UCLA, right, for improving your research, for improving your teaching. Of course, these are very good universities, so also getting to know what makes them so excellent. Yeah? And when then I came back to Germany, I made a little step in between. I was in Belgium, right? This was my first experience in Europe at a private university, Vlerick Business School, #1 private universities in the Netherlands, in the Benelux. And then I finally was able to close the loop, right? Then I had the opportunity to start as an assistant professor at KLU, right? More or less closing the loop, coming back to the northern part of Germany. So already 8 years ago, so time is flying. I think it's very typical, that our faculty has seen many different places, right? You see there are public universities like Cologne, Passau, Kiel, private universities. We have been to very excellent universities and so on. So I think this is very valuable also for the students that we can have some experience to leverage. If you would look for my profile, you will see I'm here as the associate professor for management accounting. I'm not going so much into details. Or maybe some of you have some experience in business administration, you may first think, accounting, management accounting, why is this guy not talking about brands? Isn't that something which relates to marketing? Yeah, and definitely. But what I think is also very typical for faculty members at KLU, I mean, it's KLU, Logistics University. Of course, there is some emphasis on logistics, supply chain management, but there is also a strong emphasis on leadership and management topics. So we're very open to work at interfaces. It's very valuable. It's the same with me, right? So I have been my career started in accounting, but I had also some experience in marketing. I was at chairs in Passau and in Cologne, which has more emphasis on marketing accountability and stuff. And I somehow, in this vein, came into brands. And brands, of course, it's a big marketing topic, right? So the marketing departments, they are developing a strong brand. But brands are right now also one of the hottest topics in accounting. Because there is a big question, to what extent do we recognize intangible assets, big data, customer relationships, brands, into the balance sheet of companies? It's a big topic. And of course, there is a big question, what is the value of the brand? Because if you want to put it in the balance sheet, you have to put a euro number, a dollar number on that. And this is where I do my research and where I would like now to give you a little flavor how we may understand, how do we get to the value of the brand. And if you are in a lecture, right, I mean, if it's about something very tangible, right, like this here, our campus, right? It's a tangible asset. We know what in the end we're talking about. We can touch it, right? And we also have probably a very good idea how to measure the value of this building and so on. But what about the brand as an intangible asset? And if you are then in a lecture, you may first have to a little bit define something, right? Because we have maybe different understandings what a brand is. And this is a very typical definition. It's very clear. It's very short. It's very distinct, right? So it is a distinctive picture about a product that is anchored in the head of customers. So if you think about Apple, or if you think about Samsung, or if you think about BMW, then you have automatically certain associations. You more or less start to describe this brand, which is linked to the product, with adjectives. Friendly, dynamic, innovative, right? You describe it maybe like a human being. Yeah, this is what is a brand about, right? That we have certain associations, not about the overall company per se, but you see the product and you see there is a logo printed on that product. This triggers certain association. This is what the brand makes with us. Of course, it's very often boiled down into the logo, right? It's not per se the same. You could say a logo is a trademark. This is just a representation of what the brand stands for. But of course, let's maybe focus on that for now. So there is, let's talk about the value. And you may say, okay, is this so relevant? And let's get a feeling what is maybe the value of these brands. And this is what we typically observe right now and what we estimate right now with our models. This is probably right now the most valuable brand in the world, right? This Apple, right? I mean, if you look around you, maybe you just look here, like here, I have it also here, my smartphone, it's an iPhone. You have your MacBooks. Many of us are using the product of this company. And we are doing it always interactive in KLU, so I ask you, what do you think? What's the value of that logo? Not the overall company, not Apple, but just that Apple is able to put that logo on its product, and this makes something with us. We talk about that in a few seconds. But this is having a value. What do you think? What's the value of that brand? Any guesses? Nothing to lose. Also maybe the online crowd, right? You can also maybe write down something in the chat. Yeah? 5 million. Okay? Say again?
Simple.
Simple?
Yeah.
What's the value? What's the value?
The value is that it's simple, so that we can.
That's true. That we come to that, right? It's very distinct, right? But now I would really like to have a number. So there's 5 million, I guess, euros, right? Or dollars, $5 million. More or less, what would you say? 5 trillion? 1.5 trillion. Okay, now we have the huge range, right? 5 million, 1.5 trillion. Maybe someone.
I would say it's a fraction of the
Okay, yeah, we're getting closer, right? So there's a source Interbrand. Interbrand is one of the providers, right? It's 482 billions.
The logo.
Only the logo. Only the logo, not the overall. You're right. It's the overall company, which is more. It has buildings, it has cash, it has machines, and so on. But this is just the logo, right? Apple itself is worth much more, but I think 482. What's the GDP of Denmark? 400 billion, right? So there are estimates out there that there is this logo, and this logo is having a value of 482 billions, right? And we have to maybe ask the question, where is this coming from? What do you think? What are other big brands which have these kind of values? Alphabet, yeah, maybe not Alphabet, but what is the big brand of Alphabet? Google, yeah? Alphabet would be the company, but then they have Google maybe as a big brand. True. It's number 2, by the way. Yeah? Microsoft, yeah, the usual suspects. Coca-Cola, yeah? And what Interbrand is doing, I mean, Interbrand is a brand valuation provider. They have certain models in place. There are many models. You don't have the time to go so deeply into that. But Interbrand, if you go Google that, Interbrand, right, here is the link. Every September, they bring out the top 100 global brands. Yeah? And I like the Coca-Cola thing, because let's say 10 years ago, Coca-Cola was always number 1. Yeah? The brick and mortar Coca-Cola, the most valuable brand in the world, but this has incredibly changed, of course, right? Like you mentioned, there's Google, there's Microsoft, there's Amazon, Samsung, and then we get to let's say the more brick and mortar companies like Coca-Cola, Mercedes, BMW. Yeah, so, but you see, it's also big numbers, right? Here we have the 482, but then Microsoft, they estimate 278 billions. So, of course, this triggers the question, where does this value come from? Yeah, because it's a big question now for marketing. It's also a question for accounting. What if you want to put it in a balance sheet? How can we do that? Yeah? And now I could maybe jump directly to the company and say, okay, how are the companies making money? Because probably this is then somewhere indicating how we get to a value. But the interesting thing is also from the research, is that it's because we as customers derive certain values out of a strong brand, and this is then something that the companies leverage. Yeah, that's why there are typically two perspectives to talk about or to think about when it comes to the value of the brand. Yeah, this is here perspective number one. Yeah, who's this? This is the customer. Yeah, customer's king, and he or she derives certain values out of strong brands. And then we have the business guy here, right, the companies, they know that, and then they take it to develop the brand and, of course, to make money out of that. And this is then somehow influencing the models and leads to these values I've just shown to you. So in the end, I would like to put you in this perspective of the customer. And from the customer, there are typically three benefits that a customer derives out of strong brands. The first benefit is about information efficiency. Yeah, just think about yourself. You look for a chocolate bar, or you look for some yogurt, and you go to the supermarket, and it may look like this. Yeah, it's a picture by David Gursky, 99 cents. You are overwhelmed, right? You are overwhelmed by this huge jungle of products there, so many brands and so on. And marketing, brand is not about psychology, right? So the human being, on average, at maximum, likes to handle 7 to 8 pieces of information at the same time. Because this is more, right? You see the numbers here, you see the colors, right? And maybe even sound. You see different typos, yeah? And so on, right? So you're overwhelmed. Yeah? And then, of course, what we as human beings are doing, we try to be efficient, right? We look for something that helps us to find some guidance through this jungle. You look for the logo that you're familiar, like maybe the Mars logo or the Twix logo if you look for a chocolate bar. Yeah, or maybe the Danone yogurt if you're standing in front of the big fridge in the supermarkets, right? And this is very natural. Huh? And if a company has achieved that they stick out of this big jungle of products, then there is information efficiency for us as customers. Yeah? And if you think of Apple and so on, they have done this in an excellent way, and this is not something we would like also to a little bit test. Right? We don't even need maybe the full logo, right? We just see a little piece of the logo, and that already helps us to find our way through the jungle of products. Now let's test this a little bit, that we in the end, with the strong brands, we don't need so much, just a little piece, and then we already know what kind of brand is behind that. And to increase incentives, disclaimer, of course, in every lecture we don't give presents, but for today, if we do a little logo quiz, I show you one piece of the logo, and I would like you to raise your hand, not to shout, right? To raise your hand, if you think you know what kind of brand is behind that logo. It's not the full logo, of course, but it's just a piece of the logo, and then you tell me what kind of brand is behind that, and then you get a little present. Okay? Understood? Yeah. Okay, good. So let's go. Number one. First row. Adidas, yeah? Very good, right? So the three, I go through the rows, no worries, but for today, for the first, I make it efficient, right? So the three stripes, right? Of course, sports apparel, right? So there it's very, very prominent. Okay, number two. Next row. It's Mini, right? So we are in the automotive sector. Of course, in the automotive sector, we have lots of important brands. Brands play a very important role here. Okay, what about this one? Yeah?
Nike.
It's Nike, yeah? So of course the big competitor of Adidas, we have Nike, so maybe extra points. So this is the swoosh, right? This is the famous swoosh of Nike, yeah? Nike, anyone knows where the name comes from? Okay, very good. Excellent. Do you know what it stands for, the Greek goddess? Success, yeah? Victory, yeah? Of course, that makes sense, right? If you think of, can you catch? Talking about sports? Okay, yeah, thanks. So, Nike, right? The Greek goddess. And she is always presented with the little wings, right? And this wing is like the swoosh, right? So that they took it from there. the Greek goddess. So sports apparels. And of course, Adidas and Nike, they have been very good at developing these brands, right? So if you think of Nike, Just Do It, right? Air Jordan and so on. So they had a very good advertisement to build this brand. So we come to that also in a few seconds. This one. Yeah. MasterCard, right? So now a completely different business, right? Now we're talking about here financial services. Obviously, that's also very important. What you think of Visa, you think of MasterCard. Yeah, thanks. So we have MasterCard here. Okay. Yeah, Lego. So I have a 3-year-old son. This is our big topic right now. Lego. Now we're talking about toys. Obviously, there also brands play a very important role. Okay, next one. See, backwards here. Yeah, Starbucks. Very good. So we're talking about coffee. So now we're in the food area. Obviously, brands also play a very important role there. Okay, now maybe one of the most difficult ones. You say, come easy peasy. What about this one? Yeah, with the white shirt. Bayer. What is Bayer doing? Pharmaceutics, exactly, right? Pharmaceuticals. Right, after a long night, maybe here in Hamburg, right, at the Schanze or the Reeperbahn, you get one of the most popular products, the aspirin against headaches. Pharmaceuticals, right? Also in pharmaceuticals, brands seem to play a very important role. Yeah? Okay, and now the last one. What about this one? Yeah? Exactly, right? So, can you catch? Oh, sorry, don't want to hurt here anyone, right? Of course, also in the education, I would not say industry, right? When it comes to educational services, of course, there is the question about the brand, right? So you have WHU, your Frankfurt School, you have KLU, right? And we try to make ourselves also different from this. Do you see this is how this works, right? So you're going through a jungle, you're looking for something, you want to have some efficiency, and then you look for certain things that you are familiar with. Benefit number 2 for us as customers, it's risk reduction. I mean, if you're very young, so you're probably very risk friendly, you like to take risk, right? You go bungee jumping and all these things, but if you get older like me, you get a little bit more risk neutral. And then I have maybe my parents, which are even then older, and then I realize they're really old because they say, okay, we buy a new car, and I ask them, okay, what kind of car do you consider? Yes, we consider here a Mercedes, and I ask them why. Yeah, it's a strong brand, we know what we get. It's a good quality. I mean, you're investing maybe 40, 50, 60,000 euros, and then you don't want to have what we call customer regret. You don't want to buy a shitty product. You want to know what you get. And this is, of course, something that we also have as a natural behavior, right? We want to avoid risk. We want to avoid regret. And this is, of course, something which the brand is also giving us, some comfort. Because of the brand, we think we know the product, we know what we get. That's why we go for that brand, in order to avoid customer regret. What is interesting about this risk reduction, if a brand has been so successful in the past to develop a certain image, it's not just per se always top quality. Right? There are many strong brands out there which is not about the top quality, it's about perceived quality, or you know what you get. I think a very important example is this one here. It's coming from, let's say, food restaurants. Right? There's a company starting in the US, 1940s, and then more or less, I mean, Africa is a little bit gray, but more or less, I would say all over the world, you can go there and get something that you know. Any ideas what that could be? That's McDonald's. I mean, now I'm biased, right? So of course there's also some subjectivity in there. But I mean, is this top quality? If you order a burger there and then you open that burger and it's all mixed together and it doesn't look so nice. But no matter where you are, right? If you are in the US or if you are in Russia, if you are in India, if you are in Dubai, you know what you get. Same experience. I was in China. I don't know if you've ever been to China. I was in China at a university for research teaching. Very nice people, and they offered me all the meals they can do. But I did not really know what I was eating. I have to be open. And I'm not a big fan of McDonald's, but at some day I had to go there. I was hungry, and I thought, okay, let's go there because I know what I get. It's not top quality, it's perceived quality. I know what I get. This is very important for me, right? Because then I have a certain taste. I want to avoid customer regret. And the very strong brands have really been so successful to trigger this perceived quality in our minds that also then helps them to make them so valuable. And in this regard, I would like you to show one of the most prominent experiments in business administration. We're not only doing experiments in biology or chemistry or physics, but also in business administration. And this is the taste experiment for soft drinks. So it's about Pepsi and Coca-Cola. And what the researchers have done, they have made an experiment. Let's say they have randomly collected 100 people, male, female, different age, different educations, what they typically do to have some representative picture. And then what they did is more or less it's like this, right? So you get 2 cups of or 2 cans of soft drinks. One is Pepsi, Coca-Cola, and then the people were asked, "Okay, please taste." Okay, and then you were asked, "Okay, what tastes better?" So they didn't see what they were drinking, right? Really a blind test, and you asked them what tastes better. 100 people, this is the result. So, slight advantage for Pepsi, more or less even, but there's a slight advantage for Pepsi. Now it's an experiment. Experiment always means now you want to find out something. It's about causality, right? Now you change a certain thing. What can you change here? So you take the banner. So the research we're doing now, again, 100 people, randomly collected, so same distribution, male, female, age, education, But now the main difference is they see what they drink, right? So I get, okay, a can of Pepsi, a can of Coca-Cola, and you ask them the same question. What tastes better? So they drink, what tastes better? Any guesses what happens? And it's significant, completely switches, right? The picture. So there is the logo, they see what they get, and this triggers something. I mean, maybe you would say the left part is the objective quality. You don't see, you just ask really in a neutral way what tastes better. But now there is, because of the logo, they know what they see, they know what they get here. It triggers something. And of course, this is very good for Coca-Cola, not so good for Pepsi. It's perceived quality, right? The companies have been very strong, Coca-Cola has been very strong in creating this image, this perceived quality in the minds of the customers, of us consumers. And the third benefit for us as customers, and this is now something where we may deny, or and I'm not judging now, but of course you buy maybe also certain brands because you want to express something, you want to demonstrate something. And now don't get me wrong, it's really in extreme examples, and to make it somehow balanced, let's make more male and a female example. But there's a Louis Vuitton bag and there's a Porsche. And of course you buy these products because you think it's a strong brand, information efficiency, you look for cars, Porsche stands out, so I take it. Of course you think this is very good quality, risk reduction, but probably also buying these products because you want to express something. Maybe the left part you say, I want to express I have a good taste, or the right one, I am dynamic, I'm innovative, I have the power, whatever you like, right? Maybe you don't want to make this so explicit, but implicitly we buy products that represent certain things, certain values that we would like to have in ourselves, or that we think what we are. And then you match it with the products you are buying, right? And then there's an image of this brand out there, and you take the brand with what you think fits best to you, to your values, to your attitude. Yeah? And this is, by the way, how advertisement works. I mean, advertisement can be very information-oriented, right? You can tell in an advertisement about all the features, what makes the product, and so on. Yeah? But this is not how we often observe. Look at an advertisement of Apple. They don't tell you how the smartphone is made up of, what components. Yeah? It's different, right? So don't tell me how good you make it. Tell me how good it makes me when I use it. Yeah? So I buy the product because it helps me to express certain things. Yeah? And of course, this can go into extremes, right? We have brand lovers, right? Like the Apple guys who even go for tattoos. Huh? And believe it or not, there are also Microsoft people, right? Who say, Microsoft, that's my brand, so I make a tattoo, right? Or you make it for your whole bag. Huh? If you are like motorcycles, then you say, of course, Harley Davidson, that's the thing. And then you have brand groups. There's a Harley owners group, right? So there are people coming together, right? They talk about their experiences with the motorcycles. They exchange their ideas about the next road trip and stuff like that. And of course, then you see it there. It's also, of course, sponsored, right? Because it's good for the brand, right? If you have these kind of communities, right? So there are people. You have a certain personality about yourself, what you think, what you are, and then you buy the products that fit this personality. Yeah. Okay, these are the three benefits, right? There's much more, of course, to say, and also much more granular to talk about, but let's keep it in mind, right? So in the end, if it's about the value of the brand for us customers, it's information efficiency, it's risk reduction, and social demonstrants. Yeah? And now switch the perspective. So how can now the companies make money out of it? Yeah? So the first thing, and this is then always a component that goes into these valuation models that, for example, I use in my research, and what the companies like Interbrand are using in their research, it's about loyalty. I think maybe of cars, or maybe you have here now the Amazon example, right? So you become loyal. You like the brand, you risk reduction, it worked, it expresses what you think, what you are, right? You say, okay, I found my product, I don't have to look for other products. You become loyal. Why is this good for a company like Amazon? So it's much more expensive to get a new customer instead of keeping an existing customer. With all the advertisement, and if you go then maybe for B2B, for personal selling, right? Getting the customer is a huge investment typically. But if the customer is there, then you in the end save money if the customer is loyal, right? You don't have to try to move the customer to your product, right? He or she is already there, and then you in the end save money. So customer loyalty saves money for the customer attrition of companies, and this is something that always goes into these models, right? The customer churn is much smaller for strong brands. The biggest driver that you may have already in mind, of course, is this one, right? I mean, if I look for water, I can go to Aldi around the corner and I buy a six-pack there of, I even don't know the brand. Huh? Maybe you know, but I don't know. Huh? Or I go to Edeka and I buy a six-pack of water and it's from Evian. Let's say for the six-pack of water at Aldi, you pay €2, but for the six-pack of water for Evian at Edeka, you pay, what do you pay? 6, 7, 8 euros? Yeah? So this is a price premium thing, right? Of course, an iPhone is expensive. You could get the same iPhone or smartphone, the same smartphone from Samsung with the same functionalities. It's doing the same thing. It has the same apps. It has the same features. You can make phone calls. You can do WhatsApp, but it's Samsung compared to an iPhone, right? And there's a premium, right? There's a gap, and what the company is able to charge. And obviously, there are people out there who are willing to pay this. Same with the cars. So a Porsche is more or less, in many components, similar to a normal Volkswagen, right? But there is this logo under the Porsche, and then customers go crazy and they pay this premium. Of course, this is then very important. This is then always one component that you put into these valuation models, right? This price premium that good brands, strong brands can get from their customers. Now a local example, right? Nivea, coming from Bayersdorf, here in Hamburg, Eimsbüttel. Now it's a little bit, again, it's not just we get extra money, it's also about saving money. So brand extensions. I mean, with the blue can, this is how Nivea, how Bayersdorf started. But if you go now to DM or Rossmann, right, into the supermarkets, what do you find? Not just cream, you find deo, you find aftershave, you find shower gels, all by Nivea. Because it's brand extensions. You have developed a strong brand, and now you can take this logo and put it maybe on other products. It saves you money, right? Instead of for every new brand, develop a new For every new product you develop a new brand? No, you don't. No? You more or less transfer the brand to other products. Now, of course, this is then a big discussion. There's lots of research and lots of guidance in this field. Of course, you may not overstretch. So, for example, Harley-Davidson also tried to make an aftershave. Didn't work. Customers had associations with Harley-Davidson, but then there's an aftershave, and then it's okay, maybe I like motorcycles, but I don't want to smell like a motorcycle. So it didn't work. So it was an overstretch. But Nivea is Beiersdorf is very good at that, right? So extending the brand to other products, right? So you have invested a lot to build the Nivea, but now you not overstretch, you stretch it to other products. And then, let's say the right side again, you earn extra money, right? You have developed the Mickey Mouse, and now if maybe a T-shirt producer wants to also put the Mickey Mouse on his or her shirts, you have to pay a license fee. So Walt Disney is earning every year $18 billion in licensing fees. 18 billion, because other companies want to use the Mickey Mouse or the Donald Duck on their products. And of course, this is then where you can leverage that you have built a strong brand. So this is also very often a part in our models. It's called royalty, relief from royalty, right? So you earn money with licensing. This is also then flowing into the model, right? So there's of course more to say. Of course, just to give you also a flavor, how did the companies get there? And of course, this can take days, right? Brand management, brand strategy, lectures and stuff, but maybe in a nutshell, right? And this again, I'm not judging. Of course, in other contexts, we can of course discuss this a lot. But of course, a company like Apple, what they're very good is they know the customer. So they collect lots of data, they observe the behavior, they observe our tastes, our attitudes, right? So if you use an iPad or so, for what are you using it? Is it just work? Of course not. You're using it for entertainment, for connecting, for all the stuff. And of course then the companies take this big data and they apply analytics, and then they can develop new products, new brands, or they were almost leveraging the brand or emphasizes in the advertisement that fits to the customer and what he or she as a customer wants to have from the products. Strong brands can only work if you have this one USP. So you have to be different, of course. You have to stand out. Think about the benefits for the customers, right? You want to provide information efficiency. If you don't stand out, then you don't create value for the customer. You have to be different. And then if you observe the very good brands, what they're also very good is they are very consistent in everything. So this could be, let's say, the cycle, the touch point cycles, for example, for a car manufacturer, right? So you look for a new car, right? So you must be somewhere in the consideration set. There's the website, and then there are maybe first contacts with the sales team. Then you order, it gets delivered, then you have the real experience, there's the billing process, and there's maybe maintenance and so on, customer services. And it's always consistent behavior, right? With the typos, with the logo, with the style, how you are approached to, right? So these companies are very consistent in their appearance, and this is how they make a strong brand. Of course, there's much more to say, right? So in the end, this was just to give you an idea, a little flavor of how a lecture maybe could look like, maybe with some little interaction. Of course, always with some practical examples, but maybe for you, if you now go out and think about yourself and think about brands, in the end, it's this value of the brand comes from two perspectives, right? Of course, the companies, the right hand side here, right? They take a lot, they make a lot of money in a sense with this brand value. But in the end, it comes from us, right? So we as customers, in the end, we take three values out of strong brands, and the first one is this information efficiency. The second one is the risk reduction, and the third one is the social demonstrance. Of course, there's much more to say, right? So about developing the brands, maybe also critically discussing this, how to get the data, how to apply analytics, and so on. But of course, it's just a flavor, so I'm more or less on time. I would like to thank you for your attention. And of course, if you want to know more, then see you at KLU. Thank you very much.